So the sequel to Avatar comes out on December 16th in the United States, and it's called The Way of Water. Did you ask for this? I didn't ask for this, but we're getting it anyway. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why continuing the Avatar series is a bad idea and they should have left it alone as a standalone film back in 2009. Let's talk about it.
Welcome to Comic Power. My name is Comic Killer 72, and welcome to another episode of The Quick Flip. This is the program where I go over comic book industry news in a short period of time.
Alright, let's do it. For you purists out there, I am aware that Avatar is not sourced from a comic, but I want to talk about it anyway because I can. Now allow me to give you the 5 reasons why continuing Avatar is a bad idea. Number 1, you waited too long. You're releasing this film at the tail end of 2022. The first original film came out in 2009. 13 years. Think about this. Kids that were 5 years old in 2009 and just going to kindergarten are now graduating from high school and going to college now that the sequel's coming out. I get it. Avatar is the highest grossing movie of all time, but it's not like Star Wars or Batman or some other evergreen property that you can release it whenever you feel like it, and the amount of time in between doesn't matter. I don't think that Avatar has those type of legs. I really don't. Number 2, the novelty of an all CGI environment is no longer a big deal anymore. Everyone's doing it. The motion capture we first saw back in 1999 looked amazing, but they wasted it on a terrible character in Jar Jar Binks. Ooh, don't get me started about how awful that character is. But it showed you the possibilities of what you could do in the future with actual good characters in terms of motion capture. And Zack Snyder's 300 in 2006 showed all CGI backgrounds with real actors on top. So 2009's Avatar gave us the motion capture and the background CGIs together. No one had ever done anything quite like this before. For one thing, it was too expensive really to do. So the novelty of this being a successful movie just because it looks good just isn't going to work anymore going into 2022 and 2023. I mean, Alita Battle Angel looks incredible visually, but it's not the greatest movie of all time in terms of box office. Number 3, I think that Avatar is too generic of a story to have a franchise based on it. We've seen this story before where indigenous people had to defend themselves against outsiders, and one of the outsiders infiltrates them and gains their trust and fights for their cause against the invaders that he used to be part of. That story sounds a lot like Pocahontas. I'm assuming that the makers of Avatar have seen this before. It also sounds a lot like Dances with Wolves, which stars Kevin Costner. Avatar also feels like a spin on the Smurfs, that instead of trying to control the planet, they live in harmony with it. The Smurfs are small and blue and very friendly people. The Na'vi are big and blue and will gut you like a fish. In this story, the outsiders are Earthlings. They look like Americans, they talk like Americans, they never actually say it, but they are Americans. And they're trying to get rid of the Na'vi because they want the precious metal that they're sitting on top of, which is Unobtainium. When I first heard the name of the MacGuffin for this film, it really hurt my intelligence. That name sounds like a placeholder, like they were writing the script and they couldn't think of a name for a metal. They said, we'll just call it Unobtainium right now, we'll come up with something later. But the name stuck and it made it to the final product, and the name is completely stupid. Yeah, it's rare, it's precious, and it's hard to obtain, so you just call it Unobtainium. Who came up with this name? Beavis and Butthead? Marvel has Vibranium in the Black Panther universe. That's a good sounding name, but Unobtainium? Come on, bro. That's just very lazy writing, and it took me out of the movie. So a movie franchise with a plot this generic, with writing this lazy, and you're gonna start a franchise on it? This should have been the one and done, man. Number 4, this puts the creator, writer, and director of Avatar, James Cameron, back in the news, and James Cameron is just freaking annoying. I respect what he contributed to pop culture. This is the guy that gave us the freaking Terminator, okay? And he has the distinction of having the number 1 and number 3 highest grossing movies of all time. But when you hear him talk with all his smugness, he sounds like one of those rich a-hole narcissists like Dr. Oz or Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos that talk just to hear themselves talking. And I always think they're the smartest man in the room and everyone's beneath them. Do you remember the episode of South Park where they spoof how narcissistic he is? Where the only thing he can say in a sentence is his own name? Because James Cameron doesn't do what James Cameron does for James Cameron. James Cameron does what James Cameron does because James Cameron is James Cameron. Unfortunately, I can't show you an actual clip of it because of copyright, of course. That would demonetize my video. I'm just not here for that. But I'll leave a link in the description so you can see it for yourself. James Cameron is credited as the sole writer, producer, and director of Avatar. So that whole Unobtainium debacle is on his watch. I think that James is a lot like George Lucas. He's surrounded by a whole bunch of yes men who can't tell him no because they're all on the payroll. Your farts smell great, Mr. Cameron. I think that South Park hit the nail on the head. That guy really is that egotistical. And now that he has another big movie out, you're going to be forced to have to hear from him again. And number 5, we have the MCU now. We really don't need Avatar to give us a sci-fi, action, adventure, thriller as an ongoing franchise. Marvel's doing a great job of that, and their writing and characterization is better than Avatar. There was no real competition for Avatar and what Avatar does at the time time it was released in 2009. The Marvel Cinematic Universe had really just gotten started. Iron Man and Hulk both came out in 2008. The MCU didn't release any films at all in 2009 to compete against Avatar, and didn't come back to 2010 with Iron Man 2. So now that they've waited 13 years for the sequel, Marvel doesn't have just 2 movies in the can, but they have 30 films in the can. And now they're releasing 3 films a year. And don't forget about the Disney Plus web series, which are also in the MCU. So let me ask you this. What would you rather be watching? Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, or Avatar 1 and 2? They both use heavy amounts of CGI and the motion capture technology, but Marvel's doing it better. And the motion capture they did with Josh Brolin as Thanos is one of the best uses of this technology ever, and it's put Thanos up there with Darth Vader as one of the greatest sci-fi villains of all time. And their 30 films so far have made $28 billion worldwide. And Marvel has given us everything: grounded espionage spy thrillers, space action comedies, magic horror action, heist action comedies, tech-based action heroes, and space sci-fi action thrillers. I think we take for granted what Marvel has given us, which is near perfection, and I think it has made something like Avatar irrelevant. I don't wish any ill will on Avatar or any of the people that worked on it. I just believe that the story is too generic to be more than just a one and done. Its shoulders are not strong enough to be an ongoing franchise with multiple sequels. It's just not. I make this video give or take about a week before Avatar 2 comes out, and I expect for it to have a big opener. People are going to be curious about what's going on with this franchise that's been going for so long. So an opener of about $200 million makes sense when it first comes out. And yes, I do think it will go on to make about $1.5 billion, but nowhere near the $2.9 billion. I think people have moved on, and it will fail to reach the earnings of its previous predecessor for 1 or 2 or maybe all 5 reasons that I gave in this video. Now, go to the comment section and let me know what you think. Do you think that Avatar should continue? Do you think that part 2 will be a hit? Or do you agree with me that this is completely unnecessary and they should never continue this franchise? As always, be sure to subscribe and click on the bell for notifications to let you know when new videos are coming out. If you haven't seen it, check out one of my previous videos called The Spawn Reboot is Not Happening, where I make the case that the owner of Spawn, Todd McFarlane, is too busy getting in his own way for this to ever come back in the movie franchise, unfortunately. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power, signing out and saying bye-bye.